Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli back out here in the shop, and we have a great one for you today. And in today's shop, we're going to revisit an old school finesse technique, an old school way to catch fish that really puts numbers in the boat. We're going so far back, in fact, we're going back to one of my biggest wins ever. My win at Lake Guntersville in 2006 happened largely on this bait and technique. And in today's shop, we're talking about the good old tail-weighted French fry. You know, the tail-weighted French fry, in my opinion, is one of the most basic, simple rigging techniques. It's one of the most simple, basic plastics, but it does something that's the most unique. And that's really, really key. You've heard me talk a lot about this in my shops, but action, movement of the bait is what causes the bites, right? Movement of the lure, movement of that plastic, it is what triggers the bites. And the tail-weighted French fry is one of the only lures I know that glides backwards. It moves in reverse. Think about that. How many lures we fish that move forward, right? We impart action, we reel, we jerk, we twitch. The lure moves forward. It moves toward us. But this lure, the way we rig it, the way we weight it, and the way we fish it, this lure is going to move backwards. It's going to glide or slide backward. Before I get into it, think about that. Think about why a gliding backward movement is so important. I'm going to give you a couple. You ready? Here's one. What forage in the environment sort of glides and moves backwards? A lot of them. What about a dying baitfish? What about a little shad or minnow that's dying? And he kind of just starts drifting away, right? He's on his last leg. That's what this bait does. What about a crawfish? You ever see a crawfish moving in the water? Does it crawl forward when the bass is looking at him? Nope. That crawfish moves backwards, right? So it's a natural imitator of bait movement, forage movement. Number two, that lure comes back into the fish's face. That fish is looking at it. He sees it moving toward him, not away from him. Easy target, easy opportunity. Here comes this crawfish or this minnow, right? Number two reason, it goes right toward their face. And last but not least, name another bait that you can fish around overhanging cover, docks, trees, bushes, that can glide under that cover without having to skip it, right? Landing in front of a dock. Here's this lure going under the dock. Landing in front of a submerged piece of brush. Gliding back under an undercut, a piece of brush, okay? So it moves backwards. For all those reasons, man, this old school lure, tail-weighted French fry is a killer. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to show you how to rig it. I'm going to show you a little modification trick. We're going to talk about how to fish it, and then I'll give you a look at the rod, reel, and line. Okay, here it goes. And this is what I love about this. You've heard me say it. Does it get more basic than this? It does not. Let's start with the bait. And a French fry is literally a 3 to 4.5 inch piece of stubby plastic that looks like a French fry. A lot of different manufacturers out there. That's the good news. A lot of companies making these lures. This right here is a Berkley lure. It's called a lugworm. And when you look at it, it really does just look like a French fry, okay? Short, stubby, 3 to 4 inches. It's got no curls. It's got no big arms. It's got no tails. It's a little French fry looking stubby piece of plastic. The main thing I want you to make sure that you do is pick a French fry. I don't care who makes it, whatever brand. Pick a French fry that has a flat side. Okay, so look at that Berkley lugworm right there, and you're going to notice it has a flat side to it. That's critical. Any brand, as long as it has a flat side. And again, this is a Berkley Powerbait lugworm. Okay, so there's our plastic. Number two, we need a hook. We need a hook. The main thing on the hook, remember this one. You ready? We can't overpower the lure with the hook. So because of that, we need a smaller, lighter wire, more medium gauged hook. And in my opinion, for most 3 to 4 inch French fries, okay, a 1/0 or a 2/0 hook is the perfect size. I'll show you two of my favorites. Of course, the VMC Finesse neko hook, medium light wire, 1/0, perfect hook. And also, just a good old light gauge or medium gauge offset worm hook. Phenomenal. This is a mega pack of VMC medium light wire gauge offset hook. This is a 2/0. Okay? So, no heavy gauge hooks, no superline hooks, no saltwater grade hooks, no 3X hooks. Medium, the light wire, 1/0 or 2/0, a traditional offset Finesse neko, perfect. Okay? And then one more component I'm going to talk about in a second, but let's rig this thing first. Okay? So when we're going to rig this French fry, we're just going to do a normal Texas rig. But what I want you to make sure that you do as you Texas rig this little 4-inch plastic is make sure that that flat side, remember I said how critical that flat side is? We want that flat side on the bottom, okay? So we want the hook point coming up the rounded side, the curved side. And we want the flat side to be down or away from the point of the hook, okay? You're going to see why that's important in a second. But here it goes. Normal Texas rig, guys. This is not new here. We're going to pop into the head of that bait, 1/8 of an inch. Pop it out, okay? We're going to slide it all the way up around the bend of that 2/0 medium gauged hook. And then we're going to rig it Texas style, right? We're going to push the bait up, push the point into the body. Just make sure it's nice and straight. That's it. Nothing crazy about rigging. Remember how I said this is the easiest rigging technique? Nothing crazy. Texas rig French fry. Remember, flat side facing down. Okay? Now, here comes the last piece of equipment on this tail-weighted French fry. Super important. This is the piece of equipment that lets the lure glide backwards. Ready how easy this is, guys? It's a nail. It's a nail weight. Literally, you can use an actual nail. If you don't have the nail weights, you can use an actual nail, a roofing nail, a wood nail, whatever, sheet metal screw, whatever, a nail. But there's a lot of nail weights out there now. VMC makes some great ones. Here's the main thing with this nail weight that you're using, whatever brand or manufacturer you're using. We don't want to overpower the bait with the nail either. So I really, really prefer a lighter nail weight. 32nd ounce, a 16th of an ounce, up to an 1/8 ounce is perfect. But the 16th ounce is really my premier size. So the last thing we're going to do with this Texas rigged French fry, flat side down, don't forget, is we're going to stick that nail, there's that little nail weight, 16th of an ounce. We're going to stick that directly into the tail of the bait. So we're going to stick that into the opposite end where the hook is at, okay? So I usually just wet it real quick like that. I want to make sure that as I'm putting it in, it's dead set in the middle of the French fry. Okay, you see that? There it goes, going in. And I'm just going to get my finger and push that nail weight completely down until it's flat. Just want to hold the French fry as straight as I can. And there we go. Now that 1/16 ounce of a nail weight is inside the tail. Okay? That's it. That's all we have for rigging is that little 1/16, 32nd, 1/8 ounce weight embedded in the tail, flat side down, Texas rig. That's it. That's all we need with rigging. All right, let's get to the rod and reel, and I'll show you how to fish it, and then we'll talk about the line and the rod. Before I do that, one last little tip that I love doing this with my tail weighted French fries is I love offsetting the color of the tail just a little bit. This is just an example, but I've got a green pumpkin French fry. This could be watermelon seed, it could be smoke, it could be whatever color that you like. It could be purple. And I like to add a little hint of color that's a highlight or a little difference in the tail. Some of my favorite colors are orange, red, blue, green, and for sure chartreuse is one of my favorites. I just use a spike it pen, and all I do is I just get that tail, and it's real subtle, and it's almost not going to be hard to even see on camera. But I hit that tail, and I'm not looking for anything super bright. I just want a little pop of color in that tail. And remember, the bait's gliding backwards, so that little pop of color is coming at the fish, right? That little pop of color can make a big difference, especially in cleaner to clear water. All right, that's it. That's the tail weighted French fry. I've got one rigged up already. Okay, let's show you how to fish this thing, and definitely a key part to how to make this thing glide backwards. All right, first thing we're going to do, we're going to cast this French fry to where the fish live. That's a real easy thing, right? We're going to cast it to where we think those fish are living. Let's use a dock as an example, okay? So I see that dock. I see the front of that wooden dock, and I'm going to literally cast that French fry over to that dock. A critical component is as that lure is falling, hits right in front of the dock, hits the water as it's falling, you have to let that lure fall on a semi-slack line, okay? And the best way to describe a semi-slack line is that it's line that has a slight bow in it, right? We don't want to let this French fry fall on tight line, because if we do that, we're pulling it away, right? Our rod and our line, if it's tight, it's pulling the bait forward. We don't want that. We also don't want to let that bait fall on an egregious amount of slack, right? Slack that's just giant, uncontrolled slack. Because although it's falling correctly, when there's a ton of slack in the line, we have no idea what that bait's doing. Fish could have it. A fish could have hit it on the fall. Whatever. A bite. Too much slack. We want to let it fall with a slight bow in our line. Controlled slack. And when we do that, when it lands in front of that dock and we let it fall on controlled slack, that bait's going to glide backwards. And you know why it's going to do that? Because the weight is in the tail of the bait. The weight's in the rear. That nail weight, that 16th, 32nd, 1/8 ounce nail weight, it's pulling the bait backwards. But it can only pull the bait backwards if there's slack in the line. But we want controlled slack, okay? So real easy. So we cast next to that dock, hits in front of the dock. We want that slight bow, controlled slack, easy rule of thumb. If that dock is in 10 foot of water or less, you can click your bail back and just use your rod and your body and keep moving it forward to maintain that slight bow. If you cast that French fry to a dock and the dock's in 30 foot of water, cast that French fry out there, leave your bail open, use your opposite hand to feather the line, right? Just like a bait caster, feathering the line to keep a slight bow, okay? All right, so let's get back to that example. We got a dock, it's in 6 feet of water. I cast to the front, I click my bail open. I'm following the lure, letting it fall in a semi-slack line. If I see the line jump or twitch or pull away, one's got it, okay? If not, I'm going to follow the lure down, follow. I know I'm in 6 feet of water. 6 seconds go by, boom, the lure hits the bottom. Once that lure hits the bottom, it's not the end of the cast, but I want to replicate what I did on that initial fall, which is lift and fall again. Lift and fall again. And because that flat side is facing down, because the weight is in the tail, and because you're letting it fall on that slack, semi-slack line, it's not moving far. It's lifting and falling back. Lifting and falling back. And it's only moving forward inches at a time. Unlike a Texas rig worm that when you pull it, it's moved 6 feet away from the cover. Tail weight at French fry, lift and fall, lift and fall, lift and fall. Hardly moving away from the cover at all, okay? So here it goes one last time. Pitch to that dock, let the lure fall, semi-slack line, watch it, boom. The line bellows out, hits the bottom. We just want to lift and fall again. So we're going to take our rod from about 2 or 3 o'clock. We're going to lift it up to 12. When we hit 12 o'clock, we're going to follow that slack back down. Boom. Lift and fall, lift and fall, lift and fall, until we're past where we believe the fish are at. That's it. Simple rigging, simple fishing, right? What a great lure. This is so easy. Tail weight at French fry. All right, let's talk about the rod, the reel, and the line. This is pretty critical. Rod-wise, we want to go with a medium action. Not a medium light, not a light, a medium action. And the reason for that is when those fish bite, we still have to set the hook, right? This is a single hook, whether we're using the offset or whether we're using the Finesse neko. It's a single hook technique. So we want to get a little hook in them. Because of that, a medium action spinning rod is what we're going to use. Anywhere from a 6'8" to a 7'4". One of my favorites is a 7-foot or a 7'2" medium. The 7-foot medium, most versatile rod ever built. So medium action rod, 6'8" to 7'4", 7-foot or 7'2" is perfect. The reel, 20 or 30, 2,000 or 3,000 style size reel. That's the Rebo Ike. This is a 30. It's a great reel. And then on line, very critical, guys, is using one of two combinations. My favorite is braid to a long fluoro leader. And on the braid, I'm using 8 to 10 pound braid. I love that Berkley X5 in white. It's a great light braid. And then I'm using a really long, we're talking about 2 foot to 3, even 4 foot long fluorocarbon leader, 6 to 10 pound tests. I love the 8 pound Berkley Trilene fluorocarbon. And we have to use fluoro because fluorocarbon sinks. Fluorocarbon's dense. This technique does not work if you tie it directly to braid. This technique does not work if your leader is mono, because braid and mono float, and we need that long fluoro leader when we're attaching it to braid to help that bait achieve the backward glide. So braid to fluoro leader, or there are times, especially in ultra clear water, especially when cover, heavy cover's not a problem, when I'll use straight fluorocarbon. And I'll use all fluorocarbon to the knot. And once again, 6 to 10 pound fluorocarbon. I love the 8. So braid the fluoroliter or straight fluorocarbon is another great solution. And we need that fluorocarbon to help the bait fall back. Man, I'm going to tell you, of all the soft plastics I use, it's one of the easiest. It's one of the most simple to fish, but it's one of the most effective because the bait glides backwards. That's the tail weighted French fry. Man, I hope you enjoyed this in the shop. If you like what you're hearing, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, mash that button, subscribe to my channel. If you're already subscribed, do me 2 favors, will you? Tell your friends about Mike Iaconelli Fishing on YouTube, and also set your notification alarm, set your bell to ding every time I have a new shop video. If you're at work, if you're at a supermarket, whatever you're doing, you'll know there's a new video coming up. We're here to help you become a better fisherman. Today's shop, tail weighted French fry. Give that a try. You're going to catch a lot of fish. Bye.